Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Memories of a Disco Queen. I'm Meryl Meisler.
And I'm JudiJupiter.
Okay. As many of you might know or learned that I frequented and photographed a lot of all the hottest clubs, but I didn't do it alone. I did it with my friend, JudiJupiter here. And I am not the disco queen. This woman is the disco queen. And JudiJupiter has selected some of her favorite photographs I took of her that are in my 3 books. And she's going to tell you some of the real juicy stories behind them. So get ready for an interesting ride. And please, if you have questions at the end, we will answer them. You can put them in the chat box. So again, welcome, and take a ride back to hot 70s. Take it away.
Late 70s. Okay. This is Memories of a Disco Queen. I'm JudiJupiter. Next photo. This is Meryl's very, very first book that she's ever published. Next photo. And this was us. I was the first photo in her first book she ever published. It was Meryl and I were at a black and white party at Lamouche in 1978. Meryl, of course, is wearing black and I'm wearing white. I'm wearing a white boys t-shirt, no bra, white plastic baby pants with my pigtails hanging out of the holes for the legs. And on my ass, I was wearing boys underwear with the N written on the back. And that end was in my book. It was the last photo of Queen of the Bee Girls. And in Meryl's book, Paradise Lost, Bushwick era disco. And both times they use that photo as their end photo. Next photo. Oh, this photo, rejected outside Studio 54 in 1978. For over a year, Meryl and I got into Studio 54 and never had to pay because of Gifford Wallace. They were Studio 54's PR firm. And when Studio first opened in the summer, Meryl and I went there and we talked to the assistants and said, listen, I want to be the model and the writer. Meryl wants to be the photographer and the costume designer. And then I pulled out my dress that I had just gotten from Henry Bendel's. It was an antique lingerie from Henry Bendel's. It was so sexy and they went crazy. And they said, as long as you want to come to Studio 54 and we're representing them, you're going to be on the guest list forever. And so they even gave me a piece of paper and said, would you write down people's names that can get in? I didn't know names. So I wrote guy with a hat, guy with jeans, guy, Bushwick guy. I wrote all these different things. So, and it was really good. Well, anyways, when we started going to Studio 54, Lynn was the doorman. He was the original doorman. And he got mad at me because I'd always try to get my Long Island friends in. And he said, I should reject you too for playing that trick. Well, he didn't last long. And Mark Beneke took over. Now, Mark Beneke liked me a little too much. And he kept giving me his phone number to call him. But I found out from a girl he was dating, Shelly. She said, don't date him. He's very possessive. And you can't meet men at Studio 54. He'll get very possessive and mean. And then what happened was he came to me again. He goes, listen, I changed my phone number. He gave me his number again. I never called him to begin with. I guess he was just persistent as can be. But me not calling him, this is a picture. He finally rejected me from going in. And, I heard that Studio 54 did that to many, many other people. They rejected Cher one night. And it was just a game, mind game. They were just doing that to everyone. And you can see on my neck, I'm wearing a skirt as a shawl. And this photo was just about seen all over the world. And Meryl, she got a standing ovation at Basel with this photo. They applauded her. Next photo. 2 for 1. Wow. This was at Lamouche again in 1978. And this one group of people called Le Clique. They used to throw private parties and they'd have themes. So I'd always dress for the theme. So this particular party, Meryl wrote, and you can see it 2 for 1 across my breasts. And I was wearing an itsy bitsy teeny weeny red striped bikini. Well, when we went up to these 2 really, really hot guys, muscular, handsome, big guys. We said, can we take a photograph with me in the middle? They said, yeah. And they put me in the middle. And I was like, you can see I'm trying to fight my way out. I got claustrophobic. And there was like so much testosterone. And you can see the one guy, I think he's looking down my breast, but he was cute. I wouldn't mind him looking down my breast. Well, this photo also appeared in Beefcakes by Petra Mason. And I was the only girl in the book, and it was a 2-page spread. And it also appeared in a French magazine called Louis with Giselle Boucheron, I guess her name. She was on the cover. So, you know, pretty good. Next photo. JJ, my dancing partner. He was the best dancer. And I met him at Studio 54, and his name was John, and mine's Judith. So I said, just call him JJ. And he danced at all the clubs. He was in cages. In Fire Island, they hired him to dance on the yachts. He was a real wild guy. I think he was straight. You would never guess it, but I think he was straight. And of course, I'm wearing my famous lingerie dress from Henry Bendel's. And one time in Cherry Grove, Meryl was there photographing this. He would bend me over and pretend like he was having sex with me. And it was so erotic. And all these gay guys are staring at us with lust. And but one day, JJ took me upstairs at Infinity, started making out with me. And then he tried to go further. And I said, wait. I'm not that kind of girl, and never bothered me since. And I heard he was packing quite a bit. He was well endowed. Next photo. This was the first summer the Studio 54 opened, and Bella Absa and Sheldon McLean it was a party for Bella Absa. They were on stage, you know, doing whatever they're doing. As soon as they got up, I said, that's my cue. And I jumped on stage. JJ followed me and another guy followed me, and we started dancing, and they surrounded me, and it looks very erotic. Well, this photo is extremely famous. I mean, Albert Goldman, his first book that he published in 1978, you open the book and there I am, 2-page spread. And my image is like 7 times. It was like a collage. And Sonia Moskowitz sold him the photo. And also this photo just appeared in Ian Schrager's new book, 54. Again, 2-page spread. I'm in it 7 times. You got to look for me. I'm surrounded by men dancing all over me. Those were the good old days. And next photo. My favorite busboy. We were constantly dancing together with ashtray in hand. He was working while he was dancing. And I had my linen skirt, my homemade linen top. Well, he used to tell me the best stories, the VIP room downstairs. He said Liza Minnelli was naked on a swing. So there you go. Next photo. Andy Warhol and me. Look at that. We all had the weirdest looks on our face. Well, this photo has appeared all over the world, online, in print, in art galleries and magazines, and on Fox 5. They interviewed Meryl and they showed this photo. Well, didn't work out so well because Meryl went, the Brooklyn Museum was doing a show for Studio 54, and they saw a picture, photo, the same photo, but Andy was smiling. And the curator said, you know, there's no photos of Andy Warhol that are smiling. So he chose a different photo. And all you see in the photo was a little piece of my scarf. And he was probably smiling because I was making him laugh. I am a stand-up comic. And I made Andy laugh. And so Andy, one day when we were at a party, Andy told me, he said, come on by, interview sometime. And at the factory. And I said, wow, yeah, okay. And I thought, good, I'll bring Meryl. And then my friend who worked at interview said, don't go. Andy uses people, takes advantage of them. And I thought, oh shit, Meryl's not going to like that because she knows her photos and her negatives. So it was one of my biggest regrets, but I didn't go by there. And I was so upset that I didn't. God knows what my life would be today, being an Andy Warhol factory girl. But we used the same cameras, a Leica CL and a Minox, a Tony Minox that made triple shots. Next photo. Oh, this is her next book. You can probably see the book. That's her second book. Next photo. And in that book, girls, me. Oh, Meryl and I used to photograph all the time in Times Square. Oh, I loved it. There were transvestites and hookers on every corner selling their bodies. There were drug dealers. You could get pot, window washers, go-go bars. I mean, it was a blast. And I really, really, really miss those days. And I was posed with some guy we just asked to pose with. And these guys were cruising us, probably thinking I was a hooker. I loved it. Next photo. Oh, this is my absolute favorite shot Meryl has ever taken of me. I look like a beautiful Spanish or black girl, but what I really am is a Cherokee from Detroit. So that's comparable, right? And so this guy happened to work at Playmates. This was at Playmates, a go-go bar that I worked at. And he was a flyer, passing out flyers to guys to come on in. And he was showing off for Meryl how he could blow smoke out of both nostrils. And so Meryl photographed it. And I want to give a big thanks to Patty O'Brien, Meryl's lifetime partner of 40 years. She didn't know I loved this photo the most. And she made this photo the Zoom photo. So thank you, Patty. It's beautiful. Next photo. Oh, I tell you my name, but you know, it'd only be a lie because we always lied about our names and ages in this business. I read in the topless bottomless business, go-go bars, and I read an article in the Village Voice that said, earn $2,000 working as a waitress, bartender, dancer. And I thought, oh God, I need a job. So I went to Playmates, and I said, I want to be a bartender. And they said, okay. And I needed a job. I did have bartending experience. I had worked at Tramps on 14th Street until I tipped the till and I got fired. So, and this was my birthday party. You can see the girls are topless. You see a cop down there. And the Meryl squad was constantly trying to bust us. They got me one time, false accusation, but I had a good time in jail. 2 nights in the bullpen. One of the best stories I ever wrote, but you can see nipples everywhere. And these poor girls are probably starving to death. I brought these cupcakes. It was my birthday. And I was lighting it. And you can see they're all like looking to dive into it because they never let us eat. They wanted to keep us thin. So at 1 o'clock at night, they would let us have hot chocolate. So I brought cupcakes. Meryl was there and we photographed it. Next photo. This was a job. I told you I was a bartender at Playmates, but there was no money in being a bartender because you had to count on the dancers to give a percentage of their tips. Now, you know, that's not going to happen. And when I first went to get the job at Playmates, the manager said, well, why don't you be a waitress? I said, oh, no. He goes, why? You're afraid somebody's going to grab you? And I said, yeah. And we both laughed. And so instead I became a waitress and I hustled men into buying me 69 bottles of fake champagne, which was really apple cider. And we served them 3-2 beer. Next photo. I met Meryl at Mardi Gras in 1977. We became fast friends and we started photographing magazines, PR firms. And I also met a girl on that bus called Denise. Denise was a real jock. So she got a job in West Hampton at the Bath and Tennis Club. And so she invited Meryl and I up all the time. We got to stay at her house. We went to the tennis club every day, you know, and I met a guy, Michael. Well, Michael was a pot dealer, so I'm sure that's one of the reasons I met him. And we went to his condo, which was right next door. His dad was this big time doctor. So you can see he has a scale full of Thai weed. And Meryl wanted to take the photo, so I pulled up my top and we saw my nipples and the Thai weed. I think it's a great shot. And somebody said, is that your Thai weed? I said, I never had that kind of money. Thai weed went for $10 a stick back then. in 1977. Next photo. Oh, cocaine. Isn't that a great shot? You can see my eyes. Well, cocaine was really, it was extremely popular in the 70s. I mean, you go in restaurants or bars, people be snorting it right off the table or at the bar. No one cared. I mean, we were free spirited. Everything was wild. You didn't say no to anything. I mean, we were the crazy, we're the Caligula of the time. And but Quaaludes came into being too during this time, and I had 4 doctors. I went to 4 doctors, got prescriptions for Quaaludes. Of course, sold them. I only did a half, but the greatest sex you ever have on a Quaalude. And then Quaaludes, people started making homemade ones, and they put rat poison in them. I many times heard about people dying from that. And eventually, they outlawed Quaaludes. And so we'd see Steve Rubell at Studio 54 going, he was on Quaaludes because you slurred your words back then. But Meryl and I, we never really did heavy drugs. We were more into, we're potheads. And we didn't drink because it was too fattening and we didn't have the money. So we just drank black coffee all day long, and we needed it to stay awake because what made Meryl walk all over Manhattan. I'd never take subways or buses. And then we danced all night. So we were high on pot and black coffee. Next photo. CBGBs, that's me on stage with who knows. Well, I met in Mardi Gras in 1977. On the way there, we took this thing called the Gray Rabbit bus. And I got on. There were no seats on the bus. Everybody was laying on the ground. I thought, oh no, I don't have a blanket. I don't have a pillow. So then halfway through the trip, I noticed this really handsome, big, tall, gorgeous man just sitting there by himself. And he had a light. And I had a book. So I walked over to him and I said, can I use your light to read my book? And by the time the lights went out, we were having sex. And little did I know, across from me was Meryl. And I didn't know Meryl then. And the woman next to her was Felicity, and she just wrote a book about her experiences with young guys. And then there's this sweet, cute little Mexican girl next to her, Carmen. Well, in the morning, the next day, Meryl walked up to me and she said, would you pose nude in men's magazines for me? I got a job, an assignment. I said, sure, without hesitation. And Lenny came home with me. It didn't last long because it was nuts. Well, most men are, aren't they? And but fun, as long as they last. Anyways, Lenny got a job at CBGB. So Meryl and I decided to go visit him. He was the bartender there. And oh, it was the bathrooms were so disgusting. I mean, you would rather pee outside, which I probably did because you didn't want to touch anything. And the people that performed there were like Patti Smith, the Ramones, and Sex Pistols. One day, Johnny Rotten, I was photographing, he goes, get out of here. And nothing really scares me because I'm from Detroit and I'm an Indian. So nothing, I'm pretty tough, and he scared me. And there was a busboy working at CBGB's named Peter, beautiful face. And he said, will you take me to Studio 54 sometime? And I said, yeah. He goes, but I'd like to dress as a woman. And so Meryl and I went to her drag queen friend and got a bunch of clothes, makeup, and jewelry. So we dressed Peter up. He looked gorgeous. So we took him to Studio 54. All these guys were hitting on him. And at the end of the night, of course, I took him home and had sex. Next photo. Oh, this is her third and final book. Next photo. Me with Grace Jones. Oh, what a performer. This was at the Farfel opening in 1978. And the tall man behind me, I just met him 2 weeks ago in Cherry Grove because he was showing off names. I go, names. And then I pulled out my photos. I got like this. He goes, oh my God, that's me. That's me for 1978. The guy's still really handsome. And then he told me the guy behind Grace Jones is Cy Berlin, and the woman, the tall woman, is his wife, Grace. And he said they put Grace Jones on the cover. Oh no, her name's not Grace, it's Ellen Berlin. And they put Grace on the map. They made her famous. And this is me, of course, in my famous lingerie dress. And you can see Grace has given me quite the look. I loved it. And Meryl and I saw Grace perform many times. And one time at Roseland, she was performing, the lights went out, turned on, a cage, it was a real tiger. The lights went out, went back on, and Grace is in the cage, of course, no tiger. But she, one of the best performers, best singers, she could move. She was, wow, she was hot. Next photo. Oh, this. Meryl would constantly write on my body. So I'm wearing my itsy bitsy teeny weeny bikini, and she wrote, no, only, all credit cards accepted. And then on each cheek of my ass, there's an N and there's an E. The N stands for neurotic, and the other cheek is erotica. That was what we called ourselves back in the disco era, neurotic erotica. Great name. And on my ass, pinned with safety pins, this is $1 million. I guess that's what I thought I was worth. And the guy I'm with, I'm not sure who he is, but he has his leg wrapped around my leg, and I have little socks and high heels. It was amazing. You could see me on the reflection, my face on the other side. Next photo. Love, love, love safety pins. I think I created the look personally. I would string safety pins. And in this case, I took photos that Meryl took of me, little 3x5s. And we put in the photo, I'm laying flat, and we had bags of pills and drugs, all sorts of things. We placed them on my body to cover, you know, my private parts. And in the other photo, I'm bent over, and there's a bunch of dildos, all sizes and colors. And that was at the Underground. And the woman that dressed me up, it was for, It's a Man's World. It was at Infinity. And she dressed me up for the party in one of her costumes. And her name was JoJo. She owned the sex toy shop on the West Side Highway. It was very gay. It was the wildest place. I mean, 200 guys would hang outside that store because the Anvil was right next door where guys would, you know, with anything, any devices. And so she dressed me up, and she had the first sex club, you know, like Plato's Retreat, but hers was gay and it was called the Underground. Next photo. Oh, this was taken on the way to Studio 54 in a taxi that only cost 25 cents for the first mile. Well, Meryl painted her hands with white paint and placed them on my body, on my stomach, and on my ass. And I have a flower in my ear. I'm not crazy about the photo, but you know what? It was 100 years ago, and I wish I still looked like that. Next photo. And this is me the same night. This is what it looks like on my ass. Well, I must have known this guy because I crawled across his body, and I took the shot to show the hands on my ass. Next photo. Oh, the famous film skirt. Yes, this photo was seen at the Brooklyn Museum, March 2020 for the Studio 54 Night Magic exhibit. I mean, this was a great photo. It was a film night, and I used to live with Meryl, and she lived in a whole 3-story brownstone. Me and my cats, Meryl and her cousin was away for the summer. So we got the whole place. Can you imagine having a whole brownstone on 90th Street? So anyway, she took her film strips and weaved them through my bathing suit bottom and it made a skirt. Well, a friend of mine picked me up. When he picked me up, my skirt slid down and you can see the crack of my ass. Well, unfortunately, the beautiful blonde next to him, the guy told me 2 weeks later that she died of a bad quaalude. So, you know, those were the days people were sick. Next photo. Neurotic erotica. I was wearing red. This is a great shot of Meryl and I, my safety pins. And on my back is a big piece of cardboard. And it reads Neurotic erotica, Meryl, Judith, and it reads Neurotic erotica lives. And it still does. Neurotic erotica still lives. Even though Meryl might not think so, it does. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, we didn't drink. We didn't do drugs. We're just potheads and black coffee. We're just two nice girls just looking to photograph the disco era. And we did. And we got tons of photographs. I actually photographed too. And my book Queen of the Bee Girls, Amazon. Amazon hides it. I think they're embarrassed. It's 600 pages and it's got photos that are really wild. Next photo. Okay, that's my cover of my book, Judy Jupiter, Queen of the Bee Girls. If you go on Instagram, Judy Jupiter with an I have the link for the book. Next photo. And there's Meryl's 2 books.
Hello again. Yes. Well, my first book, What a Surprise, sold out, but it still gets sassy 70s. It's selling out quickly. And the newest book, New York Paradise Lost, is just launching right now. They're available at Strand Books, the Golden Notebook in Woodstock, the Brooklyn Museum, and it's coming to other independent bookstores. And yes, of course, as well as Amazon. My work is represented by Clamp Art Gallery in New York City, with an exhibit of this work until tomorrow morning. And a show just opened up on the same theme, but totally different curation and an installation at the Center of Photography at Woodstock. And please support independent bookstores. We need them, and we need you. Okay. Next.
The end.
Okay, it's not really the end. First of all,
the beginning of the end.
Okay, if there's anyone has any questions, I'm going to open the chat room and let's see what there is, and we're going to answer them from the heart. Okay. Okay, thank you. You love hearing the stories behind it. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But personally, I'd like to thank all of you for being here, and for people who are going to be watching from now until eternity. Thank you for visiting us. My number one thank you is my friend here, Judy Jupiter, 1977, and here we are in 2021.
And she still likes me.
And you still like me. Well, yes, we someone. Oh,
just 2 nice girls.
Yeah, just getting in trouble. And there's a question. When did you realize that Judy had the gift about getting her way? Well, I've been pushing back ever since, Damaris. But she is, if you know me, I think I'm a pretty easygoing person. I'm going to sit down and make myself
You have to be to deal with me.
And I like a lot of different kinds of human beings and situations. Oh.
Why don't you stand? You look
like
why don't I
stand? Okay,
you
stand.
look like a midget.
I look like a midget. I feel like a midget.
Yeah,
okay.
There we go. We'll both stand.
No, it's okay, I'll stand. And yes, little Judy here can be very, very, you want to stand up? I'll sit down. I'll sit for a while. This is my queen. I'll take the queen's chair. Yes, she is. Anyone who knows her, and there are many people here, she can be very assertive. And that's part of her charm.
Charm.
And fortunately, I've been going to therapy ever since. And so
she was gone before I met her.
So, you know, I have to work on asserting myself and maintaining our friendship and the fun that we have. And just with anybody, with any relationship, you work it out. But I think both of us have a feeling of loyalty.
Is there any more questions?
Yes, thank you. Let's see. Are there any other questions from anybody?
Hey, Damaris, I see you. You look good.
Yeah,
hey,
nice
how are you?
You're really great.
Yeah, she's going to be here Tuesday.
Okay.
We're going to be driving New York crazy.
Yes. Okay. And this one says, from someone who knows you much longer, Sharon.
Yeah, what she said.
Who's like, well, they could do a movie, a novel, the 5 books of Moses. You two make a great team, says Sharon, who makes a great team. The shots are incredible. Did you follow her around the whole time? Why don't you answer that?
Did Meryl follow me around the whole time? Meryl and I were inseparable. And when we worked for Gifford Wallace, I was in every photograph with all the celebrities. And Gifford Wallace, the woman, looked at us and just rolled her eyes because I had my arm around her fat husband. But, you know, I like fat guys. They're cute. So we didn't get the job because I was in every photo. But I think Meryl was kind of obsessed with me and I was obsessed with her. And everywhere we went, doors open. People loved us. I don't know if they thought we were a couple, but I was always chasing boys. So I don't know. And yeah, we just had a fabulous time. Doors opened. Even when we went to Paris, doors opened. Everywhere we went, even in Paris, Bandouche wanted to throw up an opening photography thing for us, but we, you know, I never went back, which was a shame.
Okay.
There you
There's
go.
a second part of this question from Sharon. Did I follow with her camera? Well, really, I brought my camera.
Why don't you sit down? You sit down. I'll be behind.
Good question. I brought my camera to many places.
Usually 2 cameras.
Yes. Rarely 2 cameras. I was shocked to see one night that I did color it. I would only, if one was in repair, I brought the other one.
She dropped one in the ocean.
But I didn't carry my camera all the time because then it becomes a sort of saying, who am I without my camera? You know, am I an authentic person? I would think about myself, who I am, and want to be present. Well, for example, Patty and I went to the Mud Club a lot as well with Judith. I never photographed. I went to Palladium, never photographed. There were a lot of clubs I went to with Judith, Judy, and with Patty, and I didn't. I've got photographs of Plato's Retreat in this new book. You would never think it was a sex club. It looks more like a gymnasium.
No, like pigs in a trot. It was horrible.
So I do carry a camera around still. It's something I love to do. Okay, here's another question from David. When you went out for the night, did you visualize what you wanted to take, or was it just a spontaneous shot? An excellent question, obviously a photographer. Then and now, I didn't go to photograph. I always photograph what I'm going.
We knew what the party was going to be about because it was always a theme, so we dressed for it.
Yeah,
but everything was spontaneous after that.
And the primary thing was to go out and have fun. And the primary thing, even now in the street, is just I'm on my way somewhere. I'm going someplace. And also I was shooting film. So using a medium format camera, 12 images to a roll. And so actually sometimes they had 220 films, so maybe 24. And, you know, I really did, my salary money was very low.
Yes, but we knew the guy that owned the camera store. We got all of our film and developing free.
She'll lose his job. And
he's gone.
So I was very selective, and I still am. Just so it's fun. It was, if something caught my eye as being so typical or so like something I've never seen before. That's the answer. This is a question. Did Judy ever photograph you at these clubs? Talk about your photography.
Yes, I did. And I take beautiful shots of people. I made people look absolutely gorgeous. And I took some shots of Meryl. In fact, I gave her a book on her last birthday, 40 photos. You remember that?
Yes.
And the photos, I don't know why, but I do runways. So I do a lot of action, beauty.
Tell about your own photos in your book.
My photos, well, a lot of them are about the topless, bottomless go-go bars. And I did a lot of celebrities because I worked for PR firms in the 80s. So I got like Billy Idol, and Keith Richards' wife showed me her engagement ring. Billy Idol posed for me and said, "Me best friend." And James Brown asked me to go to a private party when we were in Milan after his performance. And I took a lot of shots of him. Got my ass pinched 100 times trying to get the photo, and just a lot of good shots. I mean, I took a lot of celebrities, And Tina Turner was scared to death of me when I photographed her outside the Trump Tower. I just went there because my models were working the shoe shows and they had a performance. I didn't know they would. And I photographed Tina and she was like, oh, but I got some good shots of her. Yeah. And, you know, my book's 600 pages. So it was 200 photos, 200 napkins and stories. I actually wrote a screenplay, a one-woman show, and a book. There you go. What is there another photo?
Yes. Okay. Damaris wants to know, did you get comped a lot like me?
We never paid. We had no money. We had to get it free. We had no money. We didn't have to pay rent.
I paid rent. Okay.
You did back then?
I paid rent.
Well, I didn't have to because I didn't have to. Okay. And our food, we never ate. We had yogurt in the morning and we didn't eat after that. I think I was 93 pounds. And I made Meryl walk for miles. And we got in everywhere free. And we didn't drink. And every once in a while, guys would take us out to dinner. And we'd share the meal because we didn't really eat. Okay, what else?
I actually think, you know, like with the drugs, it's like drugs were everywhere. And people were giving it to you. I actually think it was a way.
A lot of poppers.
That people were getting. I think it was an underhand thing of getting people hooked as well. And I feel very, very, very fortunate that I didn't.
Meryl told me we don't want to do heroin because if we liked it, it'd be very hard to say no. So we never did anything hard.
Okay.
I think we snorted it one time. She thought we did.
I did.
Some disco owner gave us some brown stuff. We snorted it, and I thought it was cocaine. She said, "I think that was heroin." I go, "Oh."
I didn't. I was very upset. There was a club owner who gave us something, and then afterwards said it was horse, and I was like, horse.
And he said he was going to break Meryl's legs if she didn't give up her negatives of him.
So I know I never gave my negatives. I got a police order of protection instead. He never bothered me again. That was the only bad experience, and I feel very fortunate that I personally just didn't like any cocaine because it was everywhere.
We were already hyper. We didn't need cocaine.
So,
we were high on coffee.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of comping, that's the answer about comping on the bigger level.
We never paid for anything.
Okay. Yes, he sounds like a madman. Yes, he was a madman, and I understand.
His name was Jay.
Let's not go, but I understand he has spent time in jail.
Since then?
I think, yes.
Oh, he's probably corrupt.
Yes. Did we ever beat Disco Sally? Oh, plenty of times.
I got a photograph of Disco Sally. It was a theme party, and there's a picture of me putting baby powder. Like my hair became this color in my hair, and I wore my hair like Disco Sally. And there's a picture. It's called Discotheque magazine. I'm on the cover with Disco Sally, and I'm in the photos for Cirque. Yeah.
No, this Disco Sally, just like Rollerina, she was out all the time, and
she was actually shorter than me, and I'm petite.
And she had a lot of energy, and
a lot of cute guys carrying her through the clubs. They would carry like Lady Gaga, how she's carried in. Disco Sally was carried in just like that, but she wasn't wearing what was she wearing a costume?
She was just wearing her clothes.
She was a lawyer, a 90-year-old lawyer.
I don't know, maybe she was in her upper 80s. And she married a very handsome young man. They actually got married in discos, and they got a lot of pictures. And as obviously, do the math, this was 77, this is 2021. And I was definitely of age. And, we're not kids. And I kept on saying, oh, well, going out. And it was like, back then I said, well, I don't want to be Disco Sally. Well, right now, after being in these 15 months in the pandemic, as soon as things lifted, 2 weeks ago, a drag queen friend of mine, Madame Vivian V, was going to be performing at the first. It was a party at combination of House of Yes and Suzanne Barsh, and they put at Sony Center, and I said, I'm going. It's like, now I understand.
I was invited. Sally. Was it crowded?
Yeah, we were invited. It was packed. No. But I understand wanting to be Disco Sally because your other choice is like, I'd be down or up somewhere else. So, I'm not going to go out every night. I already am married to Patty, so I'm not going to be marrying some young thing. But I understand wanting to dance and enjoy life. I mean, she was a widower, and she could either go into hiding and wear a black veil over her head, and she chose to go out and embrace life. And she sure did. And she had great moves.
Yay. Any more questions?
Any other questions? Okay. Well,
thank you for listening. Yeah. And it's my first Zoom thing, and I kind of like it. Meryl said I'm a natural.
Oh.
I thought I was going to read from my script, but you know, when you know stories, you know them. Okay. And I do Instagram at night, 8:30 live most nights. Hey, Tequila, you got something you want to ask us?
Okay.
We can't hear you. You gotta type it.
Damaris wants to know, who was the first celebrity that you met? Who was Judy? Who was the first celebrity you met?
Maybe Teddy Savalas. He was at Studio 54.
That first night he was.
Teddy Savalas, I think.
Yes. And it really depends what you think about what a celebrity is. To me, it's like my cousin.
Look Elaine. At Tequila's photo. Yeah. That's fabulous.
Yeah. My cousin Elaine, I mean, with her sister Barbara was friends with Gloria Steinem and Bella Abzug and all the and Betty.
We didn't really care about celebrities. Celebrities weren't even important to us. Oh, Andy Warhol was one of the first ones I met.
But I think
they were just people to us. We could care less. We had our cameras. We were photographing everything and everybody.
I like regular people.
Yeah, regular people are a little more interesting.
Well, thank you, Mel. Okay. Well, I have some thank yous. Okay, thank you to JudiJupiter for all the fun we have, and we continue to have fun. Thank you all for being here.
In fact, we're going out to dinner afterwards.
Sarah, that's our new disco.
And I brought my own tequila with lime juice. I don't spend $30 for a drink. I make really good tequila.
My appreciation, sincere, to Sarah, I'm going to say her name wrong, Jurgelwitz, who's the Zoom wizard behind the scenes here, making sure things go smoothly. To my life partner in love, Patricia O'Brien, for doing the wonderful graphics for this and everything. Oh, Mario Bros here from our Bushwick buddies. Yep, Bushwick Strong, Bushwick Strong. And Mario's a great person and DJ and awesome, Mr. Awesome.
Is that Sharon or Damaris?
That's my friend Mario, who taught with Patty back in Bushwick. He just won some major trivia contests at Met Stadium. He just knows about everything, and he's also an awesome. He has got a bar out of his garage. They friend's garage that they broadcast, and just the salt of the earth. And of course, I want to thank the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs for their creative engagement grant to bring the work out of the gallery into other places, that people don't normally step into galleries, and expand audiences. Mario is getting it back. David Orleana, thank you, appreciate it. It means a lot. We really haven't uncovering work. And I have to correct you, Miss JudiJupiter. This is not my last book. It's my latest book. It will be, as long as I'm living.
I'm in this book 23 times. Total 50 times I'm in her books, 3 books.
Not because it's JudiJupiter, but because
they're great images.
They're great images.
And
their history.
Yeah.
And their photography. And
we took advantage of the times.
You know what? We lived it, and let us all live in the time that we're in now. There's a lot of younger people say to me, "Oh, I wish I was there then."
You should be jealous.
No, but this is your time now.
No, but you should be jealous.
Then we could have said, "Oh, well, Paris in the 30s, that was better." This is your time, and you don't know who's going to be famous later on, a celebrity.
What's your next book going to be about?
Oh, there's going to be a street photography book for my work from 1970.
The one in
I am sure they will. This one is going to be curated by the publisher.
Well, I'm on Fifth Avenue at the Easter Parade and and the Gay Parade.
So we'll see what they pick.
Yeah, we went to the first gay parade, but Meryl said, I like being with the guys better. The girls are mean.
Yes. So, and
I'm sure she doesn't like me saying that.
Opposites attract.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. But we also have a lot in common, right? We have more in common with each other than all of us, than we have differences. And I'm just glad that we're all here and made it through the trauma of the pandemic. Amen. And
we met because of Lenny and me having sex with him on the bus. Meryl and I might not have met otherwise.
Right. You know, it's like there's always going to be something, right?
Yeah.
And would you give your, we want to stay safe, everyone. And how about we all just like, thank you.